Hey everyone, welcome back to Underreported Stories, where I cover the news that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News fail to report on or don't report on enough. And I promise you, no other show is going to cover what I'm about to show you. So I was scrolling on TikTok right after I published, I believe, it must have been Tuesday's episode. So I finished publishing the episode and I'm just sitting there like scrolling on TikTok waiting for the like ads to go pending or whatever on YouTube. And I found this absolute gem of a video mocking Governor Gavin Newsom for having a podcast. This duo calls themselves the Doohickeys. And honestly, guys, if I ever rebrand again, which I don't think I will, hopefully, but if I ever did, I will be hiring these people to redo my intro song. Watch this. It's amazing.
Why the fuck does our governor have a podcast? What the fuck? What the fuck? Why does Gavin Newsom have a podcast? What the fuck? What the fuck? Does he find time to lead? Between his BetterHelp ad reads, why the fuck does our governor have a podcast? What the fuck? What the fuck?
It was just the perfect amount of curse words for a song. I'm sorry, I should have given you a warning in case you have itty bitties in the car or in your house or wherever you're listening to this. I'm sorry. That is so freaking funny. Oh my gosh. What the fuck? What the fuck? Like, I'm going to be singing it all day. I have been singing it for like 2 days now. That's why I needed you guys to be equally tortured / enjoyed by this song anyway. Okay, before we get into the stories, which remember you can always use the chapters feature to skip forward to the stories you want to hear. But I came across this post on X yesterday about dating culture in Washington, D.C. from this account called Washingtonian Problems. And I used to follow this account when I was single living in D.C., because it was really funny, really obnoxious, and obviously I unfollowed it once I moved to Nashville and I got married. Like, there was no need for it, but I know the account has always been funny. It's called, like I said, Washingtonian Problems, and for whatever reason, this post popped up on my X timeline yesterday, and it's a text message between a guy and a girl who had met probably on one of those dating apps, and it went sideways real quick. Let me pull up these texts for you. Okay, so the blue text messages are from the girl because she's the one that's sharing this, and the black text messages are the one from the guy. It reads, okay, but who did you vote for in November? That says the woman asking this. Male, I wrote my dog's name in. She responded, you did not. He said, I did. Like laughing, crying emoji faces. And then he put a period after the emojis, which red flag. I'm kidding, but I'm not. And then the woman responds, well, this won't work out then, goodbye. Then the guy proceeds to go, all in and says, I don't like the government at all. Both sides have bullshit. It's just like everything else in the world. Nothing solely alone is good and perfect. Too much of anything will eventually be bad for you. Neither party aligns with every single one of my personal beliefs, so I can't confidently say I want any single person to be in charge. But I will say the same thing I see for every election. Probably he meant to say, I will say the same thing I say for every election. I hope whoever wins does a really good job, because at the end of the day, if they don't, we suffer for it. Secret Republican. Can I get a secret Republican? Goes on to say, so I'm not for or against anyone particular. I just want us all to do well as a nation and society. Obviously, this is not going to sit well with a liberal girl. And she went on to say, it looks like she cut some of this out, some of the conversation out, maybe to make herself look better. But he allegedly double texts saying, this is why I hate dating local. You guys get so caught up in politics that we're not even people anymore. We're judged on who we voted for, which is absolute BS. That's shallow AF. She responds, look, everyone has the right to vote for who they want. I want someone who shares my values and beliefs. I'm just as worthy as them to have basic human rights. Oh my gosh, droning on. This is not me being shallow. This is about my own safety and self-preservation. Honey. And your vote, while a simplistic data point in the incredibly nuanced political landscape we live in, tells me that this would not be a space where I'm valued. He voted for his dog, and he doesn't value her as a woman, is what he's saying. She says, it's clear that we won't be a good match. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not me. This is where everything really goes off the it's already pretty off the rails, but it gets worse when he responds and says, "Goddamn liberal. Like, dude, get an effing grip, come back to reality, and have some humanity for once. This is why I hate politics. It effing brainwashes weak-minded, emotionally driven people. It's gonna destroy this world. You liberals create the divide. You think less of people that don't agree with every little thing you stand for. This has nothing to effing do with safety. Either a person is good or they're not, period. You can't run around saying you're not safe because someone you're talking to didn't vote for who you voted for. That's effing ridiculous." It goes on, just saying kind of crazy things. And then eventually he admits that he did vote for Donald Trump. Is it a hot take to say I hate both of these people so much? Like, they both suck so much? Let me start out by being a total man-hater for a second, because this guy sucks. The last text was pretty funny, but he failed from the get-go to stick up for his values. Very clearly, this man is a conservative, or at least conservative sympathizer. He obviously, like we know now, voted for Donald Trump. But come on, man, have the guts to stick up for your beliefs. You know, like, if you have these beliefs, you shouldn't just be looking to say whatever is going to get somebody to come home with you and whatever, sleep with you, if that's your goal. Have the guts to stick up for your belief. And a lot of this really reminds me of this whole Love is Blind drama. And I didn't watch the whole show, but I had, a quick foray into it. So let me recap what happened on the show that made political news. So there was this couple named Sarah and Ben. And Sarah was a huge BLM supporter, social justice warrior, the whole nauseating 9 yards. And the guy that she ended up getting engaged to, his name was Ben. And he was this lukewarm Christian who refused to stand up for his values. And he kind of just said everything to placate her, but he wasn't entirely bought into her worldview. And he really didn't care about politics. He just wanted to be with her and was very obviously willing to compromise his morals just to be with this girl who honestly didn't understand why he was trying so hard to be with her in the first place. And it sounds kind of like this guy in the Washingtonian Problems dating group chat or whatever. From his point of view, like, he was just trying to, like, get laid. And to me, it's so unattractive as a woman when you watch a man throw their morals out the window, whether it's Ben and Sarah and Ben or this guy in the group chat. Like, stand up for your morals and values, and that is inherently more attractive. If you come out and said, "I'm a Trump supporter, I understand you're liberal, like, we can agree to disagree, but I really like other people, like, this is not a problem to me," you walk away from that text exchange looking like the hero and, you look like a good person. But back to those text messages. I want to say this because it's important. I do believe that this man could have voted for his dog, okay? Because I voted for my dog in D.C. in 2020 in the presidential election. Mind you, it was living in D.C., okay, guys, like, whatever. But where you knew he was lying, whether or not he actually voted for his dog, obviously he voted for Trump, he does go on to admit that, is that, again, this is why it was like such a red flag to this girl. When I went to the polls and voted for my dog, which I seriously did, I also voted down ballot for the most normal liberal candidates or like the libertarian candidates in the area. No one's going to believe you if you that you went to the poll to go get a sticker and vote for your dog. Like, no, you didn't do that. You didn't take all that time out of your day to do that. You voted down ballot on other things, or you voted for a candidate. Just say how you vote. And that is what's like very frustrating to me in this, like, don't lie about it, man. Just come forward and say what you believe. It is very clear towards the end of those text messages that he is conservative. You don't call someone a GD liberal if you're a liberal, And obviously the last text really was where the best part of this all went off. But if he had just stood up for his values and said, I voted for Trump, or maybe I didn't vote for any presidential candidate, but I usually vote in a mixed bag, and she responded with, well, you're not liberal enough with me, then okay, you dodged a bullet. That's great. But he didn't, and that's why he's the weenie. Now we have the woman in this situation, who also sucked, okay? If this chick is still single in her mid-30s with no prospects, I would not be surprised at all. I also wouldn't be surprised if her future husband looked like a woman, or was a woman, okay? I actually have no problem with this idea that people want their partners, specifically women, want their partners to be aligned with them on politics. My husband is conservative. Obviously, look at what I do for a living. If this girl who lives in DC and works in liberal politics, and politics is a big part of her life, I am not shocked that she wants someone who has the same values as her. That's not a problem to me. Where women like this tend to go astray is that they expect their male counterparts to have the same zeal and zest and passion for politics that they do. Why do you need that? Why? And I'm coming on here and I'm like, listen, I'm never going to be the one to dole out marriage advice because I find it a little cringy and like self-righteous for people in their mid-20s to be talking about marriage. You've been married like a year. Chill the fuck out, okay? But I am more than happy to dish out dating advice because I've been there, done that. Value alignment is incredibly important in dating. You want to find someone who shares your worldview. However, they don't need to be as bought into that worldview as you are. Otherwise, you're just dating a carbon copy of yourself. For instance, my relationship works very well because Jake is, like I said, conservative, but he doesn't give a shit about politics day to day. He's like at work right now doing his job, and he's going to come home, he's going to watch videos of golf on his phone, okay? He is completely uninterested in all of the things I do with my job, right? I'll sit here red in the face about an issue, and he's like, yeah, babe, that's crazy. Like, he agrees, but he doesn't, like, care. And that's okay. Women, especially liberal women, like, this is more for them than for conservative women. It's like, we need to drill it through their mind that men don't need to be activists to be worthy of dating, right? Anyway, my odds are on this woman becoming a lesbian in the next 3 years because she's looking for the most feminine energy I've ever seen. But anyway, let's get into our docket for today. That was really fun to like talk about dating culture for a second. I feel like I never really do that. I also, next week, really want to dive into Remy Bader, this influencer that got a whole weight loss surgery, and she just went on Khloe Kardashian's podcast to talk about this. It's so nutso. I'm going to do all the research for you. The episode just dropped today, Thursday, March 27th. So give me like a couple days to listen to it, recap it and everything. But next week, I'm definitely going to put out a video for you guys, maybe like a bonus episode on this topic, because I just find some of this influencer culture stuff to be so interesting aside from our regular day-to-day politics talk. But let's get to that. So 2 students involved with Turning Point USA were attacked by a transgender activist, and one of America's biggest social media influencers has also filed a lawsuit against a UK fitness brand. Plus, the judge who is assigned to oversee what happened with this whole Signal group chat, he's got a very controversial past, and I bet you know his name. I'll give you the whole conspiracy deep dive on this, and there's so many ways that multiple stories connect in a way that I'm just starting to think cannot be a coincidence. So, without further ado, let's get into the 5 underreported stories that you need to know. I love uncovering the truth in politics, in media, and even the truth about what's in our so-called cleaning products. Most of the store-bought cleaning products are loaded with toxic chemicals, hormone disruptors, and allergens. This is stuff that can impact your health, your kids' health, and even your pet's health. And you're just trying to do the right thing, right? Like, it's difficult to just go to the store and find products that are supposed to be good for you. But I learned very quickly I can't just go to TJ's and do that. I had to make the switch to Branch Basics. Their products are completely non-toxic and human-safe. No synthetic fragrances, no weird chemicals. They use plant and mineral-based formulas that leave your home actually clean without compromising your health. If you are ready to toss the toxins, head over to branchbasics.com/Chrissy, or you can use the link in the description. It's linked right below. Plus, if you use code Chrissy, CHRISSY, you will get 15% off your first order. Again, use code Chrissy at checkout and help out the show. I'm sure you guys are all super familiar with Turning Point USA. If you've been following for any amount of time, you know I used to work with Turning Point USA. It's a conservative organization aimed at attracting college students to conservatism. Great organization, seriously, love them. And on Tuesday, 2 student activists who were involved with Turning Point USA were assaulted while passing out flyers to promote the Turning Point Club on campus. Paige Newman is the president of the University of Texas at Dallas chapter, and Paige, alongside the secretary of the club, Grace were assaulted by a 21-year-old named Liam Thantam Eugen, also known as Alyssa, of course. Liam is a biological male who identifies as Alyssa and attempts to dress as such. And in video footage I'm about to show you, Alyssa can be seen striking the president with a metal bike lock, causing significant injury to her as well as shattering her phone. Here's a quick look at that.
Oh, that's full assault.
Back up! Now, this character, Alyssa, has been arrested. And in the court documentation for this person, he is addressed as a male, so I will call him as such. This is court record. This is not me being mean, okay? Court record. He is facing multiple charges, including 4 felonies and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and 3 misdemeanors for what he did. Now, I think this is really low-hanging fruit, not the story. I just think my reaction to this, my natural inclination is like really low-hanging fruit to say like, yay, another instance of lefties showing that they're not the party of love and tolerance. And it's just like such a simplistic thing to say that you'll hear on literally every news network. But at the same time, it is so true. Trans ideology is another thing that gets used and thrown around a lot, right? Like trans ideology, it's a term that feels definitionless when people on the right talk about it. But the truth is that it has a definition and it's branded as this like loving and accepting ideology. But it really does what it tells people is to get violent. It tells people that ideologies that do not agree with trans ideology is a call for trans people's extermination, which is not true. Okay, nowhere in conservatism does it say you see a trans person, go pew them on the street. That's not a reality, but that's what trans ideology will brainwash people to think. In actuality, conservatism will tell you, like, you're not born in the wrong body. You're a wonderful, beautiful person created to have and be exactly how you were created to have and to be, right? You don't need adjustments. You don't need surgery. You don't need hormone blockers. You are a wonderful person, and that is so kind and that is so loving. But what trans ideology tells people is that if you don't 100% align with the surgeries, with the hormone blockers, with their right to exist, no one believes you can't exist. We just don't believe in playing your game and buying into your ideology. Anyway, if you don't believe with them, you are a threat to them. And if you truly believe in trans ideology, then their actions actually make a lot of sense. I'm not agreeing with them. I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense. Pushing this ideology really is evil, specifically for trans people, because what it's done is it's resulted in trans people being put in jail for committing warrantless crimes that in their mind, they believe are acts of self-preservation. And if you're out there just trying to protect yourself, you think you're acting in a manner of self-preservation and you're going after people really just because of their beliefs, because you're so sucked into a cult, there is part of me that feels really sympathetic for those people because they're brainwashed, right? And you and I, whether it's this issue, I'm not trying to, make excuses for the individual, Alyssa, Liam, whatever you want to call him. I'm not trying to make excuses, but at the same time, when someone is so sucked down the rabbit hole, it's sad to watch, right? And so I have a feeling, I'm not positive because I don't know either of these girls, but I have a feeling that women like Paige and Grace who are attacked for their beliefs are probably the same type of girls who are sitting there praying or wishing well on this person, that this individual who attacked them physically, broke their phones, attacked them with a bike lock. I'm going to guess that these girls are so dedicated to their cause and beliefs that they believe and hope for good things for this person. And so I don't think it's out of the box to say, it's important to call these ideologies out because they've got a grip on people that we don't entirely realize. And we like to be very flippant with our understanding of what they're going through. It's truly a cult. And I feel bad for anybody that's in a cult. We watch these documentaries on Netflix and we're like, yikes. I feel so bad for these people. We need to be treating trans people the same way. It's a cult. It is. And we should be praying for these people to be released from the grasps of it. Okay, moving on to our next story. Flipping a total 180 from very psychologically sad and depressing topic to something a little bit more lighthearted, but honestly, I've got big thoughts about this. So I made a reel about this yesterday on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find me. I made a quick reel just kind of giving the facts about this case about Alix Earle. She is one of the biggest influencers probably in the world, but definitely in America. And she filed a lawsuit against the fitness giant Gymshark, alleging that the company terminated a deal prematurely over her perceived pro-Israel stance. So again, if you don't know Alix Earle, let me kind of give you a backstory. Like I said, probably one of the biggest influencers in America. And she got really famous for doing Get Ready With Me videos. So she would put on her makeup and talk about her life while she was at the University of Miami. And she's grown out of that now. She's dating a football player. She lives in LA. She travels around. She has these big brand deals. And she's just super fun to watch. And she's beloved in culture. And she's been a mainstay in culture for long enough. I think she really blew up in COVID 2020, 2021. So she's been around for about 4 or 5 years, to the point where she's faced some cancellation, right? She's very likely a Trump supporter. I have that on good authority, actually. And when she was 13, she used some inappropriate slur on a chat forum and people dug that up and she had to apologize for it. She's been accused of using nose candy, if you know what I mean. She's also been accused of setting an inappropriate standard for young women. She parties all the time on the internet, wears very revealing outfits, has a ton of work done, if you catch my drift. But generally speaking, put those kind of things aside, she has been a cultural mainstay. People love this girl. And in 2023, before most of this drama even took place with her, she allegedly signed a deal with Gymshark, the fitness brand, to do 3 videos on TikTok, 4 posts on Instagram. She's got like 7.4 million followers on TikTok alone. Okay, and all of her videos do well. All of them are performing in like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. Okay, so Alix Earle alleged in this lawsuit that Gymshark cut the deal at the end of 2023 after she faced online criticism for her, quote, perceived stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict. So she had said in an Instagram post that, quote, now and always we stand with the people of Israel, and that her heart continues to be with everyone who has been impacted by these horrifying acts of terrorism. Now, she made these comments on October 7th, or like early the morning of October 8th, before the war that broke out in Israel. This is 2023. Before it was really controversial to speak up about this stuff. And she even ended up taking the post down, the one where she said she stands with Israel. She took that down over the backlash she was getting. Now, at the time, guys, I know it's controversial. This shouldn't have been controversial. We're talking about people being unalived in cold blood. I saw these videos with my own eyes when I went to Israel. Nothing is controversial about saying you stand against people being pillaged in their homes, right? Nothing. So she's working with Gymshark at the time that this is all going down. She makes a statement about one of the biggest world events to happen. And Gymshark starts getting a bunch of backlash for working with a Zionist. She literally, all she said was, I stand with people whose country and people have just been pillaged, killed. And Gymshark allegedly terminated the deal over that. Now, Gymshark claimed that there was no deal in place. They said there was no contract in place for Alix Earle, which is nuts, because if you know anything about Alix Earle or the lore behind her, she reportedly makes $400,000 per sponsored post. This bitch is not doing charity ads for Gymshark, okay? That, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I like to hear both sides. Maybe Alix is, getting political. What is going on here? No. Gymshark is lying. And a high court in the UK agreed with Alix Earle, and now Gymshark owes her approximately $1 million for terminating this deal early, which is crazy. Now, in the grand scheme of Alix Earle's life, $1 million for her, if you see how much money this girl is making, it's really not life-changing, which is crazy. In fact, I would go as far as to say she'd pay $1 million to get this attention about her alleged political stance to go away because it's not good for her nonpartisan brand. And that's why I think this was a really brave move. Obviously, if you sue and the results come back either way, this is going to come back to the forefront. People are going to be talking about your politics when you are just trying to be an apolitical girly, right? So I just want to applaud her for 1 second. Put all of her controversies aside, love her, hate TikTok, love her, hate influencers. She did the right thing by exposing a company that went back on its word out of fear of working with someone who had kind words to express for a country and a people that were just attacked. I think that's brave. I think that's worthy of being applauded. And I've always liked her. I've disliked some of her choices. I'm not cool with the whole nose candy thing. I don't think she needs to have these massive titties always hanging out. But generally speaking, I've heard really great things about her as a person. And watching somebody go toe-to-toe with a massive fitness brand over being treated poorly for saying something that should be absolutely normal, this just solidifies that I really like this girl, actually. If you love this podcast, then you will absolutely love the Underreported Stories Substack. It is sent straight to your email Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You'll get an in-depth analysis of stories that are underreported on, hot takes from moi on the biggest news of the day. Plus, every Friday I put out Underreported Wrapped, which is like personal updates, big news that flew under the radar, and you'll get a couple of pictures from my sweetest baby boy, Mr. Harper. I have seen the subscriptions for my Substack go up dramatically since I rebranded, and I am just 6 subscribers short of hitting 3,000 subs. So if you could, do me a favor and be the person that gets me over the mark to 3,000, I would really appreciate it. Everything is free. Check out the link in the description to subscribe for free. And while you're down there, be sure to give this episode a thumbs up or a 5-star review. Literally, the most popular story in America is this Signal group chat story where the Trump administration, was kind of caught talking about national security issues in a encrypted app group chat. And then I would argue that the third most popular story is the Trump administration sending Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador and a judge blocking those deportation flights. Both pretty massive stories. And it turns out that they're incredibly intertwined. Turns out that the U.S. District Judge, James Boasberg, the judge who blocked those Venezuelan deportation flights, is the same judge who has been assigned to oversee the lawsuit concerning the use of the Signal app by Trump officials. A watchdog group called American Oversight is suing the Trump administration over the watchdog's belief that officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, used the Signal app to discuss sensitive military operations, which was potentially a violation of federal record-keeping laws. So James Boasberg is going to oversee this lawsuit as well. And he has become incredibly controversial with a lot of people on the right, including President Trump, who suggested that he be impeached for his outwardly left-leaning bias. And this is not as radical as it sounds. Usually when President Trump says something like, impeach a sitting judge, I get squeamish. I'm like, wait a second, right? Judges are supposed to remain unbiased. We're not supposed to have these branches calling to impeach one another without really good reason. But there is some good reason. Obviously, he was appointed by Obama, which is not enough to impeach the guy. But judges are really not supposed to be doing things like attending fundraisers for political parties. That's just above the pale. And this isn't just conservatives disliking him. He has made awful rulings against really common sense laws for years now. James Boasberg was actually the judge who oversaw and approved the FBI surveillance warrant of the 2016 Trump campaign associate Carter Page. He's basically a tool for this whole Russia collusion narrative. And then he played a role in blocking Trump's 2020 illegal immigration deportation efforts. And now, obviously, he's played a role in blocking ICE deportation flights in 2025, while simultaneously admitting that he doesn't know whether he actually has the power to do this or not. And now, that same man is going to oversee Signalgate. Oh, I wonder how he's going to rule on that. Yeah, sure, we have no idea. This man, he's a tool of the deep state. Oh my gosh, I sound like every right-wing influencer right now, but it's so true. Without a doubt, he is such a tool. But here is where the story took a really big twist for me, where I literally was like, holy shit, this isn't a conspiracy. We might be onto something. So I think a lot of us on Tuesday, when the Signal story dropped, we felt this weird sense, like maybe, just maybe, this whole group chat was not done by accident. Maybe someone with a vendetta did this. Maybe this was meant to distract us from something more sinister going on. Perhaps this was fake and done on purpose. There have been a lot of theories floating around, and I pulled out my conspiracy theory hat, okay? Putting it on physically as we speak. It says conspiracy theorist. Yes, it's a physical hat. You can get yours at basedonlogicapparel.com, link below. It helps financially support the show. But anyway, this Signal story dropped on Monday. And Wednesday was a scheduled congressional hearing where the CEO of NPR was scheduled to discuss why NPR should continue to get federal funding for its reporting. They knew that this was going to be an embarrassing matter because the CEO of NPR has had a slew of embarrassing tweets. They also very publicly had a man who used to be a senior editor at NPR come out and bash them as this biased crap news organization. And you know what? You know who sits on the board of Signal, the very encrypted app that this whole drama went down on? Catherine Marr. She sits on the board of the Signal app. Now, I am not saying that Catherine Marr went in and personally added Jeffrey Goldberg to this encrypted group chat, but this is suspicious as fuck. Seriously, I'm like mind blown. So, since it appears that NPR is, oh my gosh, Siri has gone off because I yelled serious so loud. Give me, I literally have to pause recording for a second. One sec. Sorry about that. Siri just came on and now I said her name again. Anyway, where were we? Okay. So since it appears that NPR is trying to cover up this congressional testimony, I figured let's make this story number 4. Let's make sure we know everything that has happened. So Catherine Marr, she's the CEO of NPR, once called Trump a, quote, deranged racist sociopath, and then proceeded to tell Congress that there's, quote, no political bias at the organization, even though not a single individual at NPR is conservative or a Republican. I'm going to take this hat off now because you guys get the point, and it's really comfortable and cute, but it just doesn't go with my outfit enough to warrant it, and I'm looking at it on the camera, and I'm like, not loving it. Okay, where were we? Okay. So this was a congressional subcommittee hearing. I'm going to pull up a video of it because it's so fascinating. And it was put on by Republicans who are currently advocating for reductions in federal spending for NPR and PBS, which, by the way, this year alone, I believe the number is $535 million worth of taxpayer funds that have been given to NPR and PBS to push a narrative that is incredibly biased and antithetical to the worldview of at least 50% of Americans. So obviously Republicans in the era of DOGE and cutting waste and fraud and just cutting spending generally are wondering, well, should we keep funding this? And this hearing also came after longtime NPR editor Uri Berliner, Berliner, I think his last name is. Uri Berliner? Yeah, pretty sure. He resigned over the bias he saw at NPR. I was alluding to this earlier. And he was the one that pointed out that NPR has 87 Democrats and 0 Republicans filing editorial positions right now. So this video I'm about to pull up is Catherine Marr going toe-to-toe with Republican lawmakers who were calling her out for her insane bias. Just Catherine Marr herself, not even NPR as a whole, just the CEO, which in and of itself should speak to the culture of the institution. And it did not go well for her, I will tell you that. This video is courtesy of the Washington Free Beacon, who just always puts together amazing content.
Is NPR biased?
I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions, no.
Do you believe that white
After a senior staffer came out and ripped you for exactly that, sure.
people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted.
She tweeted, this guy asked, this representative, whether or not she feels superior to other races or she believes white people feel that way. She gets up on the stand and says no, and here's a tweet that reads, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, How white of me, because I was from New England and my part of the country didn't have slaves, or so I had been taught. The fuck tweets this?
Something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me.
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that.
She tweeted, America begins in black plunder and white democracy. I appreciate the day off today. This is January 20th, 2020, which would have been, I believe, Biden's inauguration. I appreciate the day off today to finally fully read The Case for Reparations, the book.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
She literally tweeted, I appreciate the day off to finally fully read The Case for Reparations.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
In January of 2020, you tweeted.
She tweeted, same day. Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day.
Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day.
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
You're literally calling for reparations. Like, I don't know how she thinks she's going to get out of this.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
She tweeted May 31st, 2020, I mean, sure, looting is counterproductive, but it's hard to be mad about protests not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression founded on treating people's ancestors as private property. Let's see how she spins this.
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book.
Yikes on a bike. She's really not good at this. That was some of the worst spin I've ever seen. Like, Karine Jean-Pierre did better than that, and that's saying something. But the real reason I have issue with NPR isn't even because they're publicly funded. Part of it is because a big chunk of why I dislike them is because the media has to have a feedback mechanism, right? We're seeing it right now. When MSNBC or CNN goes too far to the left, there's a market correction. They have to fire people, buy Joy Reid. They have to, change things up. They have to cut people's salaries. They have to cut back, sell off. If no one's watching your content, then you don't make money and you don't have a news outlet, right? NPR doesn't have to worry about that. They don't have a consumer to worry about. Therefore, they can spew whatever nonsense they want and not have any reflection or accountability to that, right? I am held accountable by you guys, right? I'm never going to hold back on what I say if I think it's true. That's why you like coming here. But if I started lying to you, you'd call me out and you'd likely stop listening. You'd stop buying merch. You'd stop watching my reels and I would be unemployed. And you know what? That's really healthy for the media environment. If I'm not wanted, I'm not wanted. And the low hanging fruit sinks. And that's okay. NPR lacks that. And if they are so worthy of being funded, if they've got such brilliant minds over at NPR, then private investors or the public should be clamoring to fund the product. Notice how that's not happening. Because it's not a product worthy of our time and our consumption. Therefore, sorry, I'm not a huge fan of this. A, because it's a shit ton of taxpayer money to be spending on something that is antithetical to half of America's values. And also because it doesn't create a healthy media environment. It creates an echo chamber for people who live in DC. And why should we be funding that? I don't get it. Anyway, let's get into our fifth and final story, which is pretty funny. So, conservative commentator Kaitlin Bennet went to Clearwater Beach, Florida, to interview spring breakers about American history, and the answers from this video have sparked outrage over the failure of the American education system. Now, this isn't a new format, right? I can't tell you how many TikToks I've seen of people in Times Square saying that Africa is a country or Chicago is a state. But this one is taking the cake with over 8 million views on X. Let's watch it together.
Who did the colonists fight in the Revolutionary War?
Oh, God.
In the Revolutionary War? It was, I don't know if this is right. I mean, it sounds so stupid. Was it the Spanish? Wait, what are your
The Spanish. We fought a war. We threw tea in the harbor to get away from the Spanish. I can't. Now they're gonna get asked what they do, what they're studying in school.
majors? Business? Biology. Okay. Elementary education. Oh.
Oh, the girl who said, this is gonna sound dumb, but the Spanish, she will be teaching your children in the future. Just as a heads up.
What shape is the U.S. Pentagon building? Isn't it just a square? How many U.S.
It's a pentagon. It's the Pentagon. The Pentagon is a pentagon. That's why it's called the Pentagon. Oh my God.
senators are there?
6, 7.
How many amendments are...
Somebody did say it. 2 from each state. 2 from each state. Someone in there got it in there, and obviously we didn't highlight that because it doesn't make as good a commentary. Somebody didn't get it, though, and she should be proud of herself. The person who said 6 or 7... Oh, baby.
The Bill of Rights.
There's a lot. I know 17.
Who won the Civil War?
Oh, shoot. It's East or West, right?
Oh, my gosh. The Civil War was between the East and the West. Did you know that? You know that, guys?
Well, it's the Civil War, so it's the civilians versus whoever was in power. How many justices are...
Wait a second. That's actually... Okay, Loki. I don't agree with any of that. That's you should know this is his basic history, like literally kindergarten, first grade history. But that was good deductive reasoning on her part. Civil War, civilians versus the government. I mean, it wasn't the worst answer that could have been given. I'll give her that.
On the Supreme Court.
Justices. Mm-hmm. So like when you say that, like you mean like the FBI?
Who is on...
Oh my gosh. Who's on the Supreme Court? Like the FBI?
$100 bill.
Oh, I know that.
Abraham Lincoln?
Nope.
Abraham Lincoln.
Come on, bro.
That's the First Amendment. What's the second?
Right to vote.
Name 3 states that border Canada. We'll just do 1 per person.
Asia.
I didn't...
States that border Canada? And he said, Asia? I can't even imagine how this gets worse. All right, let's rewind a little. What is she going to say? Last question.
Asia.
I didn't know Canada had a border.
I didn't know Canada had... They border us. What do you mean? Does she... Actually, I'm just like trying to put myself in this person. Does she genuinely think that like because we have closed borders and she's learned that like we have a severe border crisis and Donald Trump is shutting down the border, that like other countries don't have borders? They just like let people free walk in? Is that what I gathered? I have never seen a better example as to why we should abolish the Department of Education. It's clearly done nothing for the American education system. It is an abject failure. This system is 100%. It is failing students. And like, I'm not the biggest, like, meanest person. I'm not saying everyone needs to know trivia questions about American politics. Most Americans, the average American, cannot tell you more than one Supreme Court judge. And I don't think that your average college student would be able to either. Like, I remember being in college. We knew like 1 or 2. Brett Kavanaugh got, he was put on the bench when I was in college. So like, everybody knew his name. But I get it. Like, people have other stuff to worry about. It doesn't offend me as much as it does maybe like the average conservative. However, what makes this a little different is that these are people who are actively in school, being taught or supposed to be being taught all of this information. And the worst case scenario was that some of these students are training to teach your future children this information. And they don't even know it. And I feel like when I watch this video, I'm very frustrated by the system that's failing to teach our students and instead just indoctrinating them. And I don't think that's a unique feeling, right? We need sincere overhaul of the education system. and then overhaul that then comes back and targets real subject that students actually need to know, right? Like, I want to learn tangible skills. I remember learning how to make like monkey bread and learning how to sew in middle school. Great, bring that back. I want to know history, okay? Basic history. We hear the phrase, the cliche, time and time again. History repeats itself. Great, teach it to me so I know what not to do, okay? I want to learn facts. I want to learn math. I want to learn appropriate reading material. I don't think that's too much to ask, but unfortunately, this country has become so obsessed with standardized testing for the sake of the fucking Department of Education's national report card, they don't actually teach kids anything. They just get pushed through lesson plans to memorize as much as possible for a test, and then they clearly toss all that knowledge out the window. They get drunk on spring break, and they think Asia borders on Canada. They think Asia is an American state. What? And, I get really up in arms about this, and I'm almost like making it a political thing. Most Americans, left, right, and center, agree with this idea that education is failing students. But we have become so ideologically captured that we cannot admit that dismantling a system that's costing us a fortune and getting our students nowhere is a worthwhile venture. And I think that's really sad, and I hope that we can come together in some sort of nonpartisan fashion to realize that this system is failing everybody. It's not helping people, and the most necessary elements of the Department of Education can be handled by more serious departments within the federal government that can actually get us places. How about that? Can we come together on that? I hope so. Before we wrap, though, I want to play a round of Is It Real or Is It Satire? The segment that makes you wonder,
Is it real or is it satire?
You cannot be serious!
A resurfaced interview shows a large black woman claiming that diets don't work as well on black women as they do on white women.
The same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower, even when we're following the diet than our white women counterparts. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
I didn't know that diets could be racist. It's almost like that COVID logic, right? When COVID knew your partisanship, like if you were just a maskless Republican walking your dog down the street, ooh, COVID was going to get you. But it wasn't going to do that if you were a green-haired freak marching for BLM and George Floyd. Same logic, really flawed, really stupid. Anyway, that's all we've got. That video really did make me wonder if that was AI or satire or what the hell that was. Yikes. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. If you're a real one and you made it to the end of today's show, will you drop the shark emoji as an homage to the Gymshark Alix Earle lawsuit? Thanks, friends. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment about how beautiful, intelligent, and funny I am. And if you want more content, click right over here for more videos and clips of my show. I'll see you back here next time. Bye!